All right, you guys know what that means. That means DJ Reclaimed is in the booth. Hello and great weather to you all. Today I have a special guest, and I'm glad to say my first interview. So do you want me to go by this name? So we have the Minimalist here, and he is a Lakeland local.
Yes, yes indeed. Yeah, short for ManaTheMinimalist. You can summon that as you want. Some people think it's a Bible reference, like Mana from Heaven, or people that play card games religiously. They're like, oh, so you got your mana points, your spiritual points. But it comes from like an old graffiti name I had, and then I just rearranged the letters. I'm like, oh, that sounds sufficient enough. So, yeah.
So, first off, we're going to do your tie to Lakeland. So you were talking about that you're getting your certificate here.
Yes, yeah. I'm getting my certificate in audio production. I'm taking my Audio 1 class, as well as my intro to electronic music, because I make a lot of EDM and DJ and a whole bunch of musical things.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
When did you really get your start with your idea of really enjoying music?
What do you mean?
Well, you know, some people are like, well, I really liked listening to music, so then I went to it. Or they started off, oh, my parents threw me in classes for this instrument, and I liked it way more than the other kids, so I kept going with it. So where did you find your base of, like, I want to do this?
I'd probably say, like, a long time ago, my dad used to listen to NPR a lot, and every Friday they had this reggae station that would always play, and I was like, oh, that's really, really interesting, even though I was like 4 and 5. So then I started slowly like stealing his speakers out of his room and trying to like rig up my own setups. And then I still have like my very, very first sound system that I built. I was like, this is interesting, because it's like the bass response would like literally, like, you can feel it, you know. And then once I figured out that we had a keyboard in our house, and then like you can make different patterns and note structures off of it, I slowly started to like teach myself how to do it. Then I took lessons. Then I was always in band throughout school, marching band and wind symphony as a percussionist. So I'm very fluent when it comes to reading music. And then even I stopped my private lessons because there came to a point where I was like, okay, I know what's going on. And then I decided to make it, like, get really, really serious about it. I would say probably a year and a half ago. Like, I already knew how to record, do beat production and all that, but I'd say at least like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I was like, I want to pursue this. Most definitely. Like, if I can perform 3 times a week, that'd be sweet. And like make rent money, that's awesome. I don't want to be like a Nicki Minaj or a Taylor Swift, but just like a locally well-known Ohio group, like 21 Pilots is a good example.
Yeah.
Another one would be like Bo Burnham, sort of a style.
So you're not going for the starlight, you just want to be out there.
Yeah, just like enough to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Off of it, because I've worked a bunch of weird jobs. Like, my first job was at a cemetery.
Ooh.
I literally buried people. Puts
it all in perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like,
man.
All right.
It's like I started literally from the bottom, or below the bottom, Drake.
6 under, man.
Yeah. So it started from there, and then I do a whole bunch of odd jobs, like laying down tile. I always build things. Like I said, I built my first sound system. Fixing and taking things apart was just so interesting. And so like I'd apply that to music stuff. I was like, okay, if I can take apart a computer, let me see how this song is compiled, you know. Then, especially just naturally knowing how to play drums and then being well-versed through Drumline, we used to win a bunch of competitions as well. I would take like the traditional drum cadences and whatnot and do the whole thing on drum set, or vice versa, like take drum set licks and do that on snare or whatnot.
Really interesting to hear your approach on it, because a lot of people are like, this is what I do this alone, but you sound like you've been trying to work on it from almost every aspect.
Yeah, and then I also like I'd try to push it, because like there was totally a point where I was like, okay, I think I've gotten good enough at piano where it's like I can like max this out. Like, it's good enough to read, it's good enough to pass off. Like, if I'm playing at a bar, people are like, hey, can you play this? No, but can you hum it? Yeah. So like I can play by ear and read it. I mean, like, there's always room for improvement, but for that it was like, okay, that's down pat, that's in the bag. What's the next instrument? Then I was on accordion for a while.
An accordion?
Yeah, I have an accordion. The thing is heavy,
yeah,
but it's doable.
My
And
uncles
then,
played accordions back when they were younger, so I'm
Really?
intrigued. Yeah, it was a big thing in my mother's household for my...
polka.
Oh, yeah, it was, I think, the most god-awful thing. There was a kid across the street that played guitar and was outside with his amp one day. And then
Really?
of course, my uncles, being the cool kids that they were, brought all of their instruments, which I think was a flute and two accordions. And they were just like thug life, like what they thought was probably like, oh, we're so cool, trying to
Yeah, like outdo them.
outdo
Yeah.
them. But
That's really cool.
that's a really intense
Yeah.
instrument. I've tried. I'm not good at it.
Yeah, there's all the things that I play, or well versed in playing. Even if I like reading, all of accordion music can get kind of dicey, but
Mm-hmm.
I can read organ music, all the staffs, regular piano music, drum set music, piano, and I started working on vocals like a year ago. And I like to think I have pretty good pitch identification. You know what I mean? Like, there's a few stupid games that we play, like, okay, let's hit a random key on the piano. I'm like, all right, that's C sharp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like keep practicing it by ear. And then eventually it went to guitar, and it was like, okay, the only reason right now I'm really on guitar is because I can't bring a Steinway onto a sidewalk. It's like the portability factor. You know what I mean?
It'd be really impressive if you could, though.
Yeah, let me get a pickup truck
Yeah.
and a tailgate, and it'll happen. But until that day, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get really, really well versed, and I use the piano as a basis. So it's like, or drum set even. It's like, okay, I have guitar down as well as I can play piano. Let's see what we can do with it. So then I started playing my piano songs on guitar and expanding on it. It's like, cool. So now I can do whatever I want, whenever I feel like doing it. And the minimalist approach, or the ManaTheMinimalist, the minimalist is fine because it's already a mouthful, was because I got really tired of, like, how do I explain it? It's okay to be dependent on other people, but for me, it really was not working out. Like, I really, really wanted to pursue music. Other people were not as into it. So say there was a band of 3 or 4, just for an example. I have the drum sets. I have 2 drum sets currently. I used to have 3. All the recording equipment, all that stuff in my house. Come over. Hey, man, let's make a song. Okay, yeah, cool. Let's make an album or an EP. Okay, yeah. I make all the album art. I got this, and this. Hey, dude, we have a gig. Oh, yeah, well, you see, I don't quite have the song memorized because I'm doing this and blah, blah, blah. Well, dude, I thought we were doing this. Well, no, because I'm going to school for whatever, you know? Say someone's going to school for, like, advanced physics or, like, applied math or something. It was, like, clearly you're taking this more of, you were perceiving this more as a hobby, where I'm perceiving this more as a job or a career, you know?
Yeah.
Which is why, like, I can easily see how a lot of other musicians would totally get very, like, conceited. Like, don't talk to me because I do it all on my own. No, it's not what I mean. It's just, for this, as of this very second, I
Yeah.
need to be able to do it all on my own until I find other players that are
You need to find an
solid.
equal. You need to find somebody with
Exactly.
the same interest level, same skill levels,
Yeah.
and that you can obviously tolerate for more than a song.
Exactly, yeah. So, like, I have no problem with sitting in or even recording with people, but if it's like a long-term project, I can't do that because, you know, it takes me, because it now comes natural to me, all music theory and whatnot. I can write, like, songs in like 5 to 10 minutes.
That's
And
awesome.
that's not like from a bragging standpoint or whatever. It's just like something happens to me, because like there was also the whole issue of everybody thinks they're a rapper, and I was like, I could do this. Like, it was easy to pull off, but
Yeah.
like, especially with that sort of mindset, you want to be different, right?
Yeah.
So I did a show, and my girlfriend was there too. I did a show at the Fantasy Nightclub in Lakewood.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing a beat, I brought out one of my homemade foot pedals, like guitar effects
Yeah.
pedals, and a loop pedal.
That's cool.
And I was like, I like Reggie Watts. I'm going to do this sort of goofy thing. So I got up there on the stage. I started beatboxing, and then I freestyle raps the entire show. I got so into it, I threw my shirt off and then went into the crowd, and people started to dig it, like, a lot.
yeah.
But the promoter...
It's intense.
Yeah, the promoter wasn't into it, but when I first got there, because he didn't know, like, people like to be very judgmental, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But
Especially in the music game, the night game.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. But like after that was over, now everybody wants to be like my friend, you know? I was like, no, that was a one-night thing. Maybe one other night I'll do that, like, years from now. But
Yeah.
if you were there, you happened to be in the club at that time, like, parents liked it too. Like, even though it was...
Yeah.
Because when it came to... the way I perceived rap, it was like, rap is not rap without rhythm, right?
Well,
And
everybody thinks it's funny because they're just like, well, what do you know about rap? I'm like, that it's rhythm and poetry. That's what it's supposed to be. It's
Exactly.
what it stems from, and
Yeah.
that's how it should be kept.
So like when I first started practicing it, I'd take drum rudiments and dice them up
Yeah.
for syllables and such.
Nice.
And then because I read very avant-garde stuff and I just have different interests than most of the people that were in my age bracket in high school, I'd sit there and like on stage, I was screaming at people rapping about like capacitors, theoretical physics, Higgs boson.
Just because you can.
Yeah, just because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And people are like,
And
yeah,
then, like,
I know about that stuff.
Yeah. But then when I went to like battle rap somebody at lunch, they didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But having that well-versed background, if they said something that was like really controversial, it was like, okay, this person doesn't know about the War of 1812 that we were taught about last period. I'm gonna bring that up. You know what I mean? So the one kid way in the back of the cafeteria is like, that's really funny. You know?
Yeah.
So the only reason I stopped the whole rapping thing is because people were not paying attention. You know, and that's always, we're all little attention babies, but like that's just how that's the name of the game, you know.
That's the unfortunate part. I don't care what high school you go to, even if some of those kids who are like, I'm homeschooled, and they would then go out and go to groups and stuff.
Exactly.
There's always that one kid that's like, dude, I can rap. I remember this kid in my theater class who's like, kind of scrawny white dude, thought he was Eminem. And I'm like, and through the high school phase, you have those, and you're like, all right, that's cool, good for you.
Exactly.
But people get more intrigued when you bring an instrument out and you are singing. And
Exactly.
It's something to draw the attention.
Exactly. So like that's how it first started, too, because like through playing all these ridiculous instruments like organ, both hands, both feet.
Yeah.
And for those of you that haven't seen a real organ, there's a grid set up like a piano for your feet as well.
It's an intense instrument.
Exactly. So like since I was already using all four limbs for drum set and organ, it was like, why not do it for guitar?
Yeah.
And then to bring those same people that liked the rap side, to bring that back out, I would use the same lyrics, but I'm playing guitar. And then instantly people will pay attention, you know?
Yeah.
People always say, oh yeah, there's that one guy who brings his guitar on campus. But like, also to fray away from that too, I also like current events. I also say, I like make jokes like, ManaTheMinimalist, the time traveler, amateur philosopher and comedian and stuff like that. So like I'd bring up social events and just like goofy things that I'd talk about, like especially if something goes wrong, which then gives me more stuff to work off of. And because I don't know if you can probably tell, I've been like acting and such for like a while.
Yeah.
It's just like a big improv show all the time. So like if cables or something blow out, I'm like, oh, all right then. Well, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And then like I'll talk to the crowd, walk in the crowd, like, as we can see here, the cable located at the tip and joint of the cable seems to be disconnected. And then like walk up to certain people like, how do you think I should approach this? Or when I street performed, I'd take the aspect of freestyle rapping to guitar. I wouldn't call it rapping, of course, but it would just be like, hey, somebody give me a word.
Yeah.
One person in particular screamed out necrophilia. I'm like, joke's on you, because I used to work at a cemetery. So lo and behold, I free versed an entire song about necrophilia. And and a lot of people thought that was very clever and disgusting, but different. You know what I mean?
It's gotten to the point where, of course, you can go anywhere. You can go to the heart of Cleveland. You can go to Louisville. You can go down to Texas for all I care. And you're going to find those groups of people who are, oh, I'm an artist,